All right, hello and welcome to our post-match show. It's ended West Brom 3, Southampton 0. Smash that thumbs up button because it helps the channel, and hit the subscribe button if you haven't already. And let's get into this. Let's get into this indeed. Where to begin? Horrible start to the game. Frantic, an absolute mess. Very similar to what we saw in the game we played against the side that we're looking at now. Brighton, very similar erratic display that we saw in the first half, in the first 30 minutes, I should say, rather, against Burnley. And here we are again. Horrendous first half display. And I think West Brom probably had one attempt on goal in the second half and scored it. Chance of a consolation in stoppage time when we're rewarded a penalty. Gineppo comes onto the pitch at 86 minutes played, causes all kinds of trouble, and gets us a penalty, and then gets us a free kick. And both are squandered by James Ward-Prowse. Anyway, it's ended 3-0. Horrible display. Absolutely horrible. I mean, is there any glimmers of quality that you saw tonight, Jack?
Yeah, it was Gineppo when he came on for the last 4 minutes.
Yeah, it's fair.
Honest to God, as soon as he came on, it was just something different on the pitch, and everyone. It's the game of everyone played poorly, and I think what gets me more than anything, and the reason, and Ralph's going to have his critics after this game because how did he take so long to make a change? It was so clear, it was clear at 45 minutes that something needed a change. Then 50, 60 minutes into the game, second half, it's like, right, you need to make this change now because it's not working. Something's not working.
Yep.
And, obviously it's captain hindsight, isn't it? Going into this game, you look at this lineup, and you're like, yeah, that's a decent starting lineup. When it doesn't work, he has to be able to go, right, this isn't working, and make that change.
Yep.
There are lots of players that should be dropped for the weekend. Players that, in my opinion, ruin their chances of playing in that fight. And I honestly think Shea, Gineppo, they'd be hungrier now. They'd be like, we'll be the shining light in this team. Thank you very much.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's a fair comment. I mean, I said it during the live stream. I thought the fact that Theo Walcott is come back fit is causing us all kinds of trouble because we feel like we have to be playing him. But when you've got players on the pitch who are very good at doing what Theo Walcott already does, why play him? Why start him? Why not have him come on at 70 minutes gone when you've had Gineppo cause all kinds of problems? I mean, Gineppo caused all kinds of problems in the home fixture against West Brom and scored a goal. So why would you not? I don't understand why Gineppo is being benched at the moment. It's because, is it because Armstrong's too good or because... But he wouldn't be playing... He'd be playing on that left wing side anyway, wouldn't he?
The fact that he came on for Walker Peters and he played in that full, you can call it what you want, that wing back, full back role. Even before the break, he, when we put him in that position, it worked. And before the break and he was playing decent football. And I said in the preview that we've got an abundance of choice in that position. And I even said Gineppo before I said Minamino this week because I honestly think Gineppo's got so much to give. Yeah. He looked great, but you look at the rest of the team in this game, you think, what happened? Where's your bottle gone? Nothing works. All the backline were bad. I think Walker Peters was more found out than anything. He kept running into trouble. I think players knew that he was an attacking threat, and that's something that could be opened up.
Yep.
And the two centre backs were too slow and not communicative enough to do anything. Bertrand pretty much out of the game because he was too far forward most of the time and he couldn't drop back. It's getting harder and harder every week to defend this sort of stuff. It was when there was excuses before, and now we're in a run of form where those excuses are gone. This is how you play now. This is us. This is the team that we should come to expect, and they're bad. They are really bad.
They were
I mean,
bad.
the only excuse you can really spin is Romeo's not there, but I'm like, all right, but there is a number 6 playing. There is a centre midfielder playing. There are options there. You know, you said to put Jack Stevens on. I still don't think that's the better option. But
well, you know, in the second half, you know, Diallo had an all right game. He put in some decent passes in there, but you know, I think the centre back pairing today was sluggish. They struggled against the West Brom strike force. Kyle Walker-Peters didn't exactly have a great game, and Danny didn't have a great game either. So it's almost a case of we needed something different in there to cause problems to West Brom, and we didn't cause any problems to West Brom. They looked so comfortable in that second half. I mean, they had one attempt on goal and scored it, and they've come out tonight winning 3-0. It's
I think we got to what 70 minutes in the second half, and we sort of said, "Oh, this is better than the first half." But I still felt the entire time like we ain't going to score, and they're probably even though they're not looking like they're scored, I feel like they're going to score next, and they did.
Yeah,
it was just.
But we were only better because West Brom were letting us play.
West Brom were playing more of the West Brom football you would kind of expect. You know, the Village was playing. You know, in the second half, but they did that because they could.
Well, they were playing like they were 2 goals up, weren't they?
Yeah.
So you know what else are they going to do? And you know they don't need to risk anything pushing forward. I mean, they're a team fighting for their lives. I mean, they arguably had to win this game to be given any kind of opportunity. But you know, looking at the games that they've got remaining left to play, they must have been looking at this fixtures thinking like, do you know what? Low confidence Southampton, press them, panic them, grab a couple of goals. You know, they've just come off a big win against Chelsea and okay, Chelsea were down to 10 men for the majority of that game, but you're still scoring 5 goals at Stamford Bridge. That's going to stick a bit of a spring in your boot. So,
absolutely,
you know, what were we to expect? But I'm really generally worried. This is putting aside all the semi-final against Leicester on Sunday, all that stuff like that. I'm just thinking of the beginning of next season because we're carrying this momentum that is just absolutely horrendous. And you look at all the games that we've played like this. I mean, I talk about the Brighton game. I'm talking about the Burnley game because although we won that game 3-2, we still had a horrendous first 30 minutes that on a day where we aren't able to score 3 absolute worldy of goals, you know, we lose that game and it's on to the next one. This is the same story we're seeing over and over again from this Southampton side. And I just honestly think that, you know, we just need one player within this lineup to perhaps make a bit of a difference, cause a bit of trouble. But we just seem to be running through the motions. And it has to fall down to the tactics of the manager because we can't spend these post-match in the streams going, no one's putting a performance today. No one's putting a performance. Well, maybe they're not in the right positions. Maybe the structure's not set right. Maybe Danny shouldn't be sitting so deep in the side. Maybe he shouldn't be on the left wing. Maybe he should actually be up front scoring goals. It's just people will ask.
That's that. It's getting to a point where I always said as long as I can see the bigger picture at Southampton and I can see the progression, I'm always going to be behind Ralph. But games like this, I'm like, there was obvious things that you could do today to improve what was going on.
Yeah.
And especially, like you're right, moving into next season, I'm still on Ralph's side in the fact that you look at the season at large. We said for weeks, you know, we didn't get the transfers that we wanted. It was a lot harder. But at the same time,
January
as well. But I mean, both of them we didn't get. You know, we didn't do anything. Well, we did, but we didn't get what we quote unquote wanted. But there was people bought, and what Ralph, you know, it's this season's kind of been Ralph's made these decisions, and a lot of them, and all of them really haven't worked or come off. But you can see why he did each thing, and then you can see why each thing hasn't worked.
Yeah.
So I'm not sat here going, why has this happened? Why are we lost? Why is it's like, okay, I understand it. I understand why it's happening. But now we're at a point where it's like, okay, it's sink or swim because you've got enough there to win these kind of games. If you're in the semi-finals of an FA Cup, you can win these sort of games.
Yeah, what is it?
What's the thing that's missing? And you know, it was that weird thing in the week of like, right, you know, he's planning on having a hot summer. He wants to double up on every position. Which is like, well, yeah, you should have that regardless. Like, how has your team not got that? But whatever.
Yeah.
And then, but then on the flip side, but we're not going to get players that are over. You know, we're going to get players that are around 10 million. It's like, okay, I get that, but what are you trying to do in the league? I mean, I get buying in players that are up and coming and add potential to the team, you know, eventually. But you've got to have a starting 11, and I think there's too many players on this team that kind of get in because, you know, they're what's there.
Mm.
Or they just as they're dipping, they run a little bit. Like Redmond's a perfect example. Until the Bournemouth game, I was kind of done. I was over Redmond, and then he fired up. Last 2 games have been great, and today, to be fair, he wasn't the worst player on the pitch. But what did he do?
Yeah, absolutely.
Nothing.
And there's a comment here that's just popped up from Jason. Let me put it up here. What has Adams done to get benched? Absolutely.
Yeah.
And there's a perfect comment right straight after Theo became fit.
Absolutely. I mean, I think today was a perfect example. Today was the perfect thing of like, right, Theo shouldn't start. We've got a nice little abundance.
That was for the chat section, absolutely smashing it, by the way. So
yeah, you know, we've got this abundance of players, you know, on the forward. You look at the bench and you see Gineppo, Minamino, Teller, Adams. It's like, who do you pick? It's like, I know who you don't pick now. You don't start Theo. And I'll be honest, and you know, you can choose in that position. Okay, I'd probably start Shea and then have Redmond play that slightly deeper role, feeding Shea and Danny. But I would also start Gineppo, quite honestly. And I don't know whether that's over Redmond or whether that's over Armstrong. And I know how crazy this sounds. What about over Bertrand?
What you'd start?
Put Gineppo in that. I know it might not be his right side, but I think Gineppo in that back line is actually right.
You put Salisu in the left back.
I don't know where I put it, but I think Gineppo deserves to start. I don't think he plays that. I think he plays pretty well in that wing back position, especially now he's getting a bit rougher and a bit tougher and can put a challenge in. And he was really good defensive. I know you will put him in that Kyle Walker-Peters side, obviously, because that was his preferred side. Yeah, but I just, you know, I think that, you know, there's so many gaps. There's gaps in the team, and there are players that are playing well enough to start, but there's just not enough in that position. So it's difficult. Even like, I don't know what else needs to change. I don't know if it needs.
It's frustrating.
Yeah,
it's hugely frustrating because we play great football, you know, and there are times in that game against Burnley on Sunday that was just like, this is fantastic. You know, this is progressive. This is attacking football. This is creative football. You know, we're suddenly able to, you know, and the goals we scored were great. You know, fantastic for the neutral watching. And then, but the thing for me is we've had time and time again, like the same first 30 minutes of an absolute mess. And I remember in the Brighton game after that, and I was thinking, like, what was that? Like, why was that? Why did we look so erratic and a complete mess? And we all point the finger at the fact that, Romeo's not on the side. We haven't got a number 6 on the pitch. This is why. This is why. So maybe it is that, but the fact is, Teller and Minamino weren't on the pitch in this game, and it looked exactly the same in the first 30 minutes.
Yeah.
Teller and Minamino weren't on the pitch in the first 30 minutes of the game against Burnley, and it was exactly the same erratic mess. So you've got to look at this and think, like, this is tactical. This has to fall on Ralph. The fact that
it does. They're just, that's the thing. That is, like, Lou's put up a good point there. Every other week I do praise Bertrand. And for me, it's that the thing. He is great and he does do well in that position. He is underrated, but it's getting back that we're so in right now. We are conceding heavily, and if we're
a lot of goals,
and if we're playing our normal game, I think, you know, Bertrand is the man to start, and he is, you know, it's great. And I know that, you know, it's more me. This is more me saying Gineppo should be starting more than anything, more over than taking another player out. It's just that I don't know where to put Gineppo in this team that's stocked full of wingers. Yeah, like Armstrong pulls his weight more than anybody, but then he can go a game where you don't really see him. Like today, like what was the point? Was he there?
Well, he had a few sort of, pushing forward, kind of, but
But that's the
losing
thing.
possession. But everyone did. Everyone did.
That was another thing that really annoys me is when players push forward like Walker Peters or Armstrong, nobody else moves. They're just like, oh, he's running, and then they get to a point where he's like, well, now I can't do anything because nobody else has moved. I've gained 10 yards, but no one else has moved 10 yards, and nor has no one open in position. So what am I going to do? It's so frustrating to see it. But I think there needs to be a big change. I don't think Ralph is the problem. I think Ralph's own stubbornness is the problem. His tactics and what he wants to do and the way he wants us to play and everything like that is absolutely spot on. He's right there.
Yeah.
The team is just so stripped down and the team is just so, gormless that we can't play that football. It's really, really hard. Non-performance. Yeah. Yeah, Sarah saying, Armstrong in the middle of Walker Peters, with James Ward-Prowse. I mean, that might be a way to go. Be a way to go. Just to
have Prowse as like a number 6 kind of defensive player because he sits back a little bit.
Yeah, and to be fair, Ward-Prowse, he's decent on the defense. He's he is, we've seen him play fullback, so he can play defensively. He tracks back anyway. So, but it's just if they do that. They have to agree that that's the position that Ward-Prowse plays and don't tell him to push forwards. Like, stick to the position. Don't play that role until you see a gap where you can do your normal thing. Stick in your role because as soon as you do that, we're out of position and it's just awful.
But the reason why we won that Burnley game was Armstrong and James Ward-Prowse were fantastic in that game. They were fundamental in all the goals we scored. It was just, a simple matter of fact. But I would love to put this question to the chat section. And it's quite a simple question. Theo Walcott or Gineppo?
Yeah, it's
it boils down to that because in that left wing position, I just think Gineppo is just offering us so much more. I mean, I know he's probably put on the pitch in the right back position today, but for me, I have to say, if you've got Redmond on the pitch and Theo, two very similar players.
Yeah.
Very similar players. So the fact that we've got, Shea Adams on the bench because Theo's come back fit, that's a problem for me. I don't understand that. It's like, Shea Adams had literally put the ball in the net every game he's played.
Yeah. He's just
why bench him?
It's like Shea did his job whilst Danny wasn't here. Okay, the rest of the team did it. He did a job. And it's just like, no, he seems to be a bit punished. But after this game, I do more question of like, do we really sign Theo at the end of the season? Do we take this contract up? Is it worth that money? Especially when, like you said, I was shocked to hear that we hadn't, there's no thought about what Minamino is in the future. Minamino has done more since January for us than Theo's done this season.
Yep.
Like, why and from that Seville offer of it was it Valencia who offered 9 mil. Well, that's in our range then. So we're talking about signing 10 mil players, and that seems like the perfect one for me. As much as I said it in the post in the preview for this match, my whole thing about Theo is more romantic than anything. It's just I love this story of Theo Walcott coming back, and that I love that. But
it's wonderful for the marketing department at Southampton.
But Theo has no consistency from Arsenal to now. When have you ever seen him? He's never had a consistent run, has he? And now it's really starting to shine after these two performances. Today was kind of a sink or swim for Theo for me a bit today because I was like, he wasn't great in the last game. Let's see how he does today. And it's like, oh, he did nothing. He did that one pass that was kind of good, and that was it.
Yeah.
But you're absolutely right. Too many players who play similarly in that today's. Ward-Prowse and Diallo, they're playing both trying to be attacking midfielders, right? And neither of them are really playing defensively, meaning they're caught out, and when they track back, they're making lap-stitch challenges, and they're not in all their. They once they get back, they then have to keep up with a striker, and it's like, well, they're not going to do that.
Yeah.
And Redmond Theo played too similarly.
Mm-hmm.
and then that kind of makes Armstrong a little bit redundant, or or they're not. Armstrong is for me today was probably the best in the midfield.
Yep.
And and no one helped him. No one helped him.
So I was a bit smart there because I was reading the question here. On the live stream, I'm not sure. So here's worse: Mark Hughes or Ralph Hasenhüttl. Really? Ryan, are you being serious here?
I understand what people are asking.
Are we being bantered on our own channel? What is this?
I think after today, we're level on points of where we were with Mark.
Yeah, but you finished last season with 52 points.
Yeah, you're not wrong. But how was the dressing room went then? Like what's the? I don't see what the vibe is. Like it's.
I don't think. Yeah.
Ralph is the better manager. There's no question because he's a manager on the up. He's fresh and he has new ideas. And Mark is of those sort of managers that their ideals of football aren't right anymore.
I don't think I ever saw a game managed by Mark Hughes, Southampton game managed by Mark Hughes, just to be fair to Mark Hughes, that I thought, wow, tactical masterpiece.
No, you're absolutely right there. It was always skin of the teeth. Like there were.
It's like, thank goodness we've won.
Like I said, I always have to see progression, and there is progression from Mark Hughes football. I just now have to see progression in Ralph's game and what Ralph's doing.
Yeah,
this summer is gonna be huge, and what I don't want to happen. The worst thing that could happen to us is if we lose Ralph now, or some rich stupid happens, and we go into the summer with a new manager who's going to have the limitations of what we have. At least Ralph understands the limitations of 10 mil players and what you've got and what we need and we understand what that is, and we need to just see that work. And this season is almost we're at a point where it's like, well, this is just a bad write-off season for us. And I know, like, you give grief for that. We all kind of have to look at the season now and be like, right, just make it over the line now. I don't think we have to worry. I still don't think we have to worry about relegation because I think the teams below us
no, and I think that the league is done. But do you know what? The way we started this campaign, we were top of the league, and it was fantastic, and everyone's thinking, yes, finally going to see Hasenhüttl get Europa League football, and everything was going great. He could still do that in getting a win on Sunday night.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, if you look,
that's the mad thing about this.
That's the way to look at it. Look at us when we were playing our best football with Ralph, and look at us when we played our best football with Mark. And it's like, wow, this is clearly way better.
Yeah,
and we can get those games and we can get those performances, but we as a fan base need to be behind him. Yeah. I know. I understand that everyone's how can a manager lose 9-0 twice? How can you have performances like this? It's like, yeah, but there are greater things around it. There are bigger, deeper laying circumstances around it. And I know people don't like Joe and people don't like the ownership, but when you look at the summer that we've got ahead, Ralph has said he wants to, he wants to buy a lot. There are players that are worth selling, but not Ings and Vestergaard. He said these things. As much as you want to believe that, it's hard. It's hard to you have to take that with a pinch of salt and everything. But there's a game plan, and I see it, and I trust it, and I want to do this game plan. I want to do this thing of stock the club up in the summer, see where we are. Honestly, I've got another season in Ralph in my mind of.
I am too, but I've got one thing that is really bugging me, and that's the fact that the last few games we've seen, Ralph's been found out.
Yeah,
and whatever we say, like, opposing teams will be watching this and thinking, we know how to play Southampton, we know how to win, we know how to score goals. And anything, like the game last Sunday where we came back from 2-0 down, there's going to be times when we're not able to score 3 goals. And, it's just the fact that of these kind of games that we're losing in this way by so many goals has to be a concern for those looking on at Hasenhüttl's reign and saying, okay, he's playing decent football. It's progressive football. Conceding a lot of goals, though. And we haven't picked up many points in the second half of the season. And we all know what happened to Sheffield United when they did this time last year. So that's my worry. It's the fact that whoever we bring in the summer, it's still going to be the same tactics on the pitch.
Yeah, but here's the thing. If you were to look at Sheffield from last year, right? If Sheffield had bought players and they're playing the same tactics, they would be probably safe. If you look at Burnley. Burnley are the same sort of thing. Burnley are in the same boat as much as you don't want to be. Yeah, we're probably one step ahead of Burnley in the fact of if everything goes right, our football is better than what Sean Dyche plays. If we're allowed to, but if Sean Dyche was allowed to get players, he would be. I feel like there would be a comfortable 12, 13th sort of thing. But I feel like if we had the players, you know, we could be top half. Just look at it on the best days and just say, well, how do we get back to that? How do we get back to where we were top of the table? Well, it's with this guy's tactics and playing the way he plays, but with a squad.
Yeah, no, I get that, but I think it's, I put Sarah's comment up here because she said it in one sentence way better than I did in about 15 sentences earlier. Is it the fact that Ralph's become too predictable? The same formation, same style of play, like we saw tonight. If Ralph's saying that was a non-performance, we tried to play it out from the back and we couldn't do it. We couldn't do it. So he gets blasted up the pitch. Second ball lost. West Brom got possession. Comfortable.
Yeah, the formation has been found out, and that's not a problem if you're the best at doing that. If we were as good as pressing as we were last season, and we were doing it proper, it would be. I'm sure you would see different results in it, but we're not. Yeah. And and that plan B of putting at 5 at the back, that doesn't work. There just needs to. When you look at the older teams and sort of you look at those sort of. I love going back and watching old Premier League matches because you never really know what you're going to get week to week because managers were a bit more diverse in what they did. Whereas now you're a master of one thing.
Yeah,
but I feel like Ralph needs to take a bit of time to be like, okay, is this the best for us right now? This is from now to the end of the season. Is this the best way? Is this really the best way to be doing this?
Yeah.
Okay. Our plan A, the press. Once we've got the players in and we're doing what we need to do, that's what we need to do, and we're trying to be the best at it. But until then, how do we just shut shop and be professional? Because right now they're not even professional performances. They look like they don't care. And that's the biggest issue.
I mean, we should be kind of playing with freedom here. I mean, I put up this comment earlier. We have Spurs, Liverpool, and Leicester next. On to the next. I definitely hear that, and I think once we're past the semi-final, whatever happens, I'm not feeling particularly confident after this performance tonight. But we should, I think we're safe in the league. Okay, but we're all decided on that. I think 36 points is enough, and so we just sort of hold on and see what happens. But that game against Spurs next Wednesday is, they're going to have the League Cup final against Man City on the Sunday, so their minds are going to be on their cup final.
Well, yeah, that's the last chance they've got to win a trophy, isn't it? And
exactly, so that's all the pressure on Jose to get a performance. So it's kind of it's going to be a funny one, I think, for the following weeks in the league, just because we're going to be playing with a bit of freedom and a bit of it doesn't really matter. Let's try a few things, and maybe that was tonight. Maybe that was. Let's just carry on with what we did against Burnley. See if we can correct what we did wrong in the first 30 minutes. But it's still a worry.
I mean, if that's the case, then we should be really, really worried because
we could see what was wrong.
That looked to me as if they went, oh, obviously what happened in the first 20 minutes at West Brom was a fluke. What happened in the first opening minutes at Newcastle was a fluke. We know what we're doing. It's like, no, clearly you don't. Clearly there's something wrong, whether it's fitness, whether it's communication, whatever it is.
Yeah.
There's something not right at the back. And for so long, the back was our rock. And now it's just god awful.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
You got to wonder how much of it is some certain players can rest on their laurels because they know they're not going to get out of the squad because there's no what's Walker Peters and Bertrand going to do wrong that they're going to be dropped from the team? Nothing.
Yeah. The worst thing that happened to Bertrand is he gets sold to Leicester. That's the worst thing that can happen to him.
I think honestly I honestly think Salasu might need to start on the weekend because he's been fine and he's fast. And with players like Vardy and Barnes, players that are going to run at them, you're going to need someone that's got players that got pace. I just don't think the lumbering Vestergaard as we saw him today, unless they're not playing as high, and he's in position more. I feel like it's going to be cut open once again.
Yeah, absolutely. It's going to be rough, but there's going to be, the game's coming up. We've got an away trip to Liverpool. They're going to be fighting for top 4 positioning. Thinking like we have to make, have to get Champions League football. Also, Spurs are going to be in a similar light. They've got a, they've got a League Cup final to think about, but they've got to be pushing for the top 4. Otherwise, Harry Kane's going to demand a transfer. Where he's going to go, I don't know, because if I had the choice between Harry Kane and Danny Ings, I know which one I'd be picking. So wherever Harry's looking, maybe Danny's got an opportunity there. It's a tough thing for a Saints fan to be saying, but just be realistic here.
Yeah, absolutely.
Sorry, smashing the mic as well.
I just think there are players that are hungrier and can prove a point. Like I think Gineppo, like when Gineppo got injured that time and he came off the pitch crying, you were just like, oh, it just means something to him. And then when he got back from that, he played his socks off every time. Yeah. And I understand why he would go out of the team when Theo comes back, and because you're like, okay, well, Theo was, we were winning back then, we were winning when Theo was injured and it was injury free the first time. So let's go back to that. But it's like, in that space of time, Gineppo was actually up to game.
How good was Gineppo in that game against Chelsea? I mean, he got absolutely battered. He got stamped on by pretty much every single outfield player from Chelsea.
After that Chelsea game, through it. After that Chelsea game, I did honestly think, well, this is a turning point for Gineppo. The fact that he, like, I think that was like my first Insta post on the MatchDayVlogs was, look how good Gineppo, like, look, Gineppo's doing stuff.
Yeah.
And then we haven't really seen him. And then Shea scores a few, goes off to Scotland, scores for Scotland, and we haven't seen him. It's like,
he is on the bench.
What are the decisions that are being made here? Like, I get that there is priority players and sort of star players, but there's also a thing called form.
Yeah.
Like, let's take that
momentum, confidence.
Let's take that into consideration. I mean,
yeah.
Shea was so unlucky not to score against Burnley. Just that miss right at the end, gutted for him because we've seen him score a couple like that. So it's just, I do. I think our starting 11 will look a lot different, both in our post match, but on the actual pitch on Sunday.
Yeah,
it should be. I mean, to be fair, it is the bulk of those players that are on the bench that got us to that semi-final.
Yeah.
I mean, there was a cup team for the longest time, and a lot of these players were injured for the other games.
So I'm just gonna put up a few comments. Some nice comments here. Thank you very much, Sarah. We absolutely love doing it. Do you know what? And me and Jack say this on countless occasions: is the fact that as rubbish as these performances are, it's nice to watch it with fellow Saints fans. So thank you for being in the chat session, getting involved. We absolutely love it too. So,
although we apologise for those other fans coming to the chat today.
Yeah, maybe I need to install a moderator because I was too invested in the game. So sorry if there's anything offensive going on there. I missed all of that. But there's another nice comment here. The only thing consistent about Saints is the quality of this channel. Thanks very much, Jeff. Appreciate that. And as I said previously, it's it makes all the difference when you go through these situations, these scenarios, these games with fellow fans, because what would we do if we were down St Mary's or away at another ground? We'd go and have a pint with another Saints fan, wouldn't we? And
exactly.
we just chat and we just get on with it. But no, we certainly do appreciate all of this. It's all very much appreciated, and I particularly like this comment as well. We lost on purpose to throw off Brendan Rodgers. It's the long con. I did say this before West Brom scored their third goal. I was thinking this is just a big con, and Brendan's going to be watching, thinking like, "Oh, nice easy win on Sunday. I can play the B team." So it's a stretch, that one, but we shall see.
I love the thought of that. I mean, I love a long con, me. I love a long payoff.
Well, it gets to full time. We've won 3-0, and you just see Hasenhüttl going, you thought that was?
It'll be good. Yeah, at the end of the game, 3-0, and it cuts to Ralph, and he looks at the camera and just goes. What's he do? What?
Oh dear.
I mean, my confidence is a bit rock for the weekend, but then again, you know, Leicester, although West Ham are a very well performing team right now, Leicester got handed to them. They were dopey in the first few minutes of the game of the weekend.
Yeah,
but just that they've got when they're in form, aren't they?
Yep, absolutely. Look at this. Tristan's we're winning over AFTV. We're nearly there against the subs. I haven't checked actually. I haven't checked recently, but I think AFTV is still ahead on the subs. But you know, this is a Saints channel, so it's already better.
I think we're more on the level than them guys. They're just they're a bit when they can see they're a bit
too many ads. There's no ads on this show.
Yeah, that is ridiculous. That's way too many ads. Way too many ads.
Well, it's been fun. I think we can end it there.
No, it's not been fun. Let's not say fun. This bit, this has been therapeutic. This bit.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Just to talk it through and you know, live through this with fellow fans on the channel. You're right, it hasn't been fun at all. But why is it that the streams are the worst fun? We had like 160 people on the stream at one stage. I'm thinking, you dark people, like what are you watching?
People are sadistic, and I mean, why do we tune into?
There can't be 160 West Brom fans. I'm sorry.
Listen, Mike, how often do me and you tune into Arsenal fan TV just because we know they're losing?
A lot, yes. You got a point there.
As soon as I see a red card in an Arsenal game, I'm like, let's see what's going on. Is Ty on the floor yet? Yeah,
second Arsenal conceded a goal. Right, Arsenal fan TV watching.
Yeah, I can't help it, and I don't. Are we the only? Who else live streams the Southampton games on YouTube? Anyone?
Alone.
Just us right now.
Be one or two others, but you know, we'd always welcome if you on. You know, just to come say hello.
Yeah,
and there's a few from the ugly inside. Those guys are always welcome here. You know, we've had a few of their you know, people who get involved with the channel and you know, come and give their thoughts. Absolutely welcome that. So yeah, if you're watching, get in touch. MatchDayVlogs at btinternet.com.
Are they not all in that special little group that we're in on Facebook?
Maybe.
I don't feel like I'm allowed to be on there. I feel like I see all these people posting. I'm like, nah, I don't make content. I'm not one of these people. I'm a tag along.
What are you talking about? You did the intro for the stream tonight.
Put it this way, mate. If we were on Cameo, they'd pay more for you.
No, they wouldn't.
They pay more for you.
No.
Of course they would.
No. Jack in.
No, I'm out. No, I am out.
Oh dear. But there we go. Well, thanks to everyone who's joined us in the chat section in the post-match and during the stream. It wasn't much fun, but it was great to have you with us. We will be here for a preview show. I think I've got on a Leicester channel for I'm not really looking forward to that, if I'm honest. But we'll be doing something for the build-up for the FA Cup semi-final. And of course, we will be doing a watch-along for that. So I'm hoping that'll be a joyous occasion. Because that's our season, really, isn't it? You know, that it all falls on Sunday. So let's see what we can get out of that.
Yeah, things will be harder to argue at if without an FA Cup. It'd be like, yeah, okay, well we don't have that anymore, so let's one less crutch to lean on, isn't it?
What have we got to look forward to?
Busy, according to Ralph, a hot summer transfer window.
Well, yeah, we shall see. I'm not holding my breath, I'm honest. I'm not holding my breath, but we shall see.
Right. I will be. I'll be holding my breath until Sunday. I'll be. Yeah, I won't doubt I'll make it, but you know.
There we go. Anyway, it's ended. West Brom 3, Southampton 0. We march on as always. Remember, like, comment, share, and subscribe, and we will see you in the next one. All right. See ya.